You're accustomed to hardship, Alice. No one ever notices you. A couple of years in low-security prison won't destroy you. We'll compensate you once you're released. My father pushed the thick file toward me across his desk as casually as if he were handing over a menu, not forcing me into incarceration. The binder overflowed with evidence of tax evasion and misappropriation, offenses my sister Beatrice had carried out. Beatrice perched on the couch, shedding crocodile tears into a tissue, as our mother comforted her with gentle strokes. They required a scapegoat so Beatrice could proceed with her upcoming marriage into the affluent Sterling lineage next month. That scapegoat was me. I didn't yell. I didn't resist. I simply lifted the dossier, allowing my fingers to quiver slightly so they'd assume I was shattered. I need 1 full day, I murmured. To consider it. My father gave a approving nod. He believed he saw a frightened child. He failed to see the individual poised to strip him of every possession he valued. Have you ever discovered your own relatives would burn you alive just to shield their preferred one from the flames? Let me know in the comments if I'm alone in this. I drove off from their residence, clutching the wheel until my knuckles blanched. I didn't head directly to my place. Instead, I stopped 2 streets over, killed the engine, and simply inhaled deeply. To grasp why I became their chosen victim, you must comprehend the twisted finances of our household. For 26 years, I'd been the extra component. The emergency backup kept forgotten in storage until everything failed. While I huddled in my chilly 400-square-foot rental, surviving on cheap ramen and reviewing study materials beneath layers of blankets to cut electricity costs, Beatrice inhabited a lifestyle that defied basic arithmetic. Last winter, I recalled browsing Instagram. There she was, posting from a luxurious 5-star spa getaway in Bali. Labeled as a professional research excursion. The caption claimed as much. I knew her so-called boutique advisory business had no active clients whatsoever. Yet my parents hearted the post. Mother left a comment. So proud of my brilliant innovator. They bankrolled that vacation. They covered the luxury sedan she wrecked 3 months afterward. They covered the upscale city apartment she leased through connections. They channeled every drop of their money into propping Beatrice up, terrified that halting the flow would cause her to crumble entirely. And me? In Arthur and Martha's eyes, I was merely a clerical worker. A silent, uninspired letdown earning $18 hourly pushing paperwork. That was the fiction I permitted them to accept. It kept things safer. Truthfully, I held a senior position as a forensic accountant at one of the state's most ruthless legal practices. My role wasn't data input. It involved pursuit. I located concealed wealth in bitter divorce proceedings and major corporate insolvency scandals. I uncovered secret foreign holdings, fictitious entities, and ghost payrolls. I was a predator cloaked in nondescript office attire. My parents remained unaware because they never inquired. Over 5 years, the question never crossed their lips. Alice, what exactly do you handle at your job? It's done once. But that evening in my vehicle, their obliviousness became my strongest advantage. I'd long puzzled over their disdain. Yet watching droplets streak the glass, it finally clicked. It wasn't personal loathing. It was pure calculation. To my parents, achievement was a limited commodity, like a single pie divided into fixed portions. They genuinely felt that offering me any encouragement, focus, or affection meant robbing Beatrice of her share. In their distorted perspective, Beatrice needed to shine brightly, so a shadow was required for definition. I served as that shadow. I was the safety net stored away in obscurity, collecting dust until the spotlight figure faltered. And that moment had arrived. Beatrice had embezzled, deceived, and cheated the authorities. The spotlight was dimming. So they retrieved me from storage and declared it was time for me to fulfill my role. They expected me to absorb the blaze so she could remain unscathed. They viewed my silence as fragility. They never grasped that while they constructed a fragile structure around my sister, I had mastered the art of toppling it. I turned the key. I wasn't heading back to weep. I was heading to battle. I parked in the deserted lot of an all-night eatery. The flickering neon hummed above like a fading bug. I stayed outside. I didn't crave caffeine. I craved facts. I retrieved my computer from the bag. My fingers still quivered from the rush of confronting my father earlier. I had to assess the full scope. I needed to determine whether this evasion was recent or part of a longer decay. In my profession, there's an adage, chase the quiet spots. What remains unspoken usually conceals the funds. My parents had stayed remarkably mute about my financial autonomy for ages. They never questioned my lack of a newer vehicle. They never wondered about my continued renting. I connected the laptop via my phone's data and accessed the credit reporting agency's consumer site. No intrusion. No advanced programs. Just routine adult responsibility, reviewing my personal credit file. I entered my SSN, birth date, and passed the verification steps. Submit. The page updated. Blue glow filled the car's interior. My breath halted. I anticipated a simple profile. Perhaps minor student debt. Small auto financing. Payment history for rent. Instead, I faced financial devastation. My score hovered in the low 500 range. But the accounts section turned my insides. 3 maxed-out credit cards totaled $45,000 in debt. A business advance for a minor consulting venture. Beatrice's unsuccessful clothing brand, originated 5 years prior. The borrowed sum was $50,000. Now delinquent. I examined the linked recovery details. Confirmation was essential. Black and white proof. There it sat. The alternate email tied to every illicit line, arthur.whitford@gmail.com. I leaned against the seat, exhaling sharply. They hadn't merely requested I accept blame that evening. 5 years earlier, they'd hijacked my identity. Back when I was 21. Scraping by for accounting course materials. Living on plain bread. My father exploited my details to finance Beatrice's frivolous dreams. When they claimed no funds existed for my housing help, they were deliberately sabotaging my score to sustain her. The truth hit like ice, final and undeniable. To them, I was an offspring. Not even human. I was an asset. A borrowing limit to exhaust and abandon. They'd submerged me for years so she could float. I glanced at my palms. The shaking had ceased. Odd, isn't it? You'd assume learning your guardians are lawbreakers who double-cross you would crush your spirit. You'd expect sobs. But no tears came. They vanished, supplanted by razor-like focus. The lingering emotional tie, that naive wish that enough self-denial might earn their affection, broke clean. Gone. I felt unburdened. I felt lethal. No longer the timid figure from the study. I was the investigator. And I'd uncovered the fatal inconsistency that would dismantle their empire. I shut the device. Sleep wasn't an option at home. Tasks awaited. If they insisted I claim their offenses, very well. I'd claim everything remaining too. I arrived at work prematurely. Not my official workplace. I couldn't chance traces on the firm network for private inquiries. I headed to my secure spot, a round-the-clock shared workspace reserved for independent projects. Rest never came. I investigated. I retrieved records for the consulting outfit tied to the overdue debt under my identity. My SSN appeared as co-signer. Legal entry was mine. I obtained 5 years of transactions and constructed the transaction map. This went beyond mere failure. It was systematic theft. Beatrice secured $250,000 from private backers, mostly sterling acquaintances, pitching a groundbreaking clothing platform that never materialized. Funds landed in the corporate account, then swiftly exited. I followed the outflows. $10,000 to an elite vacation service. $5,000 to an auto outlet. $15,000 to a builder for supposed workspace upgrades, which property checks revealed matched my parents' residence. They weren't merely shielding Beatrice's errors. They profited directly. Arthur diverted portions of his daughter's schemes to cover golf membership fees and fine tobacco. A self-contained cycle of avarice, sustaining one another while exploiting my credit as nourishment. I leaned away from the luminous display. Dawn crept in, bathing the skyline in muted tones. My rational side recognized danger. Reporting to authorities immediately would leave a tangled trail. My identity anchored the debts. My score formed the base. Arthur could portray me as the architect, the hidden collaborator, with him and Beatrice as innocent casualties. Given their prominence and my modest means, a panel might accept that version. I required bargaining power. Something compelling them to self-destruct. I needed them to supply the weapon. I reviewed the assets section of their finances. Sparse. Retirement savings depleted. Personal cards exhausted. Their sole substantial holding, the residence. A magnificent 4-bedroom traditional home in the prestigious neighborhood, valued at $1.5 million. Their emblem of prestige, the backdrop for every display of flawless kinship. Purchased 2 decades prior, nearly mortgage-free. I launched another window. Reporting could wait. First, I'd strip them bare. I visited the Wyoming Business Registry site. Wyoming stands apart. It permits fully nameless limited liability entities. No disclosure of owners. No disclosure of operators. Complete opacity. I formed a fresh entity, Nemesis Holdings LLC. I covered the priority processing charge. Then composed paperwork. A straightforward quitclaim transfer, a mechanism for rapid title shifts, often among relatives. It declared Arthur and Martha Whitford conveying full title to Nemesis Holdings LLC for $10. I produced copies. It appeared harmless. Merely 3 sheets poised to render my parents renters in their former domain. Then I contacted Sarah, a traveling notary I'd employed for premium property seizures. Reliable, private, costly. Sarah, I stated upon connection. I require a closing tonight at my father's residence. Delicate matter. Property safeguard arrangement. Be present at 8 sharp. No inquiries, just confirm identities and notarize. Regular fee plus premium, she inquired. Triple it, I replied. Sarah, depart directly after stamping. Clear. I ended the call and eyed the documents. One stack held incriminating proof. The other held the snare. They desired rescue. They wanted me to repair Beatrice's chaos so their regal illusion could persist. I seized my case. I'd deliver precisely their wish. I'd rescue them. At tremendous personal cost. I returned to their home at 7:55 precisely. Tension in the study had morphed from forceful to restless. Their concern wasn't me, it was the schedule. Beatrice strode back and forth, glancing at messages constantly, likely dreading contact from her betrothed before her slate cleared. I performed flawlessly. 26 years taught me their ideal version of me, timid, compliant, obliging. I rounded my posture. I let my tone waver. I'll accept it, I stated, eyes downward. I'll accept responsibility. Martha exhaled sharply in relief. Excellent. We counted on your sense of duty. But... I lifted my gaze, eyes wide with feigned alarm. There's an issue. I consulted an attorney acquaintance. Purely theoretical. Arthur's stare sharpened. What issue? Sentencing parameters. The falsehood felt satisfying. Given the fraud exceeds $200,000. Federal authorities seek more than confinement. They pursue repayment. They confiscate linked property benefiting the scheme. I gestured shakily toward Beatrice. Then the surroundings. They follow the funds. They see payments for upgrades here. If I admit guilt, they'll target this residence, Dad. They'll claim it for investor compensation. Arthur paled. The dwelling was his deity. He cherished it beyond his offspring. Likely beyond his spouse. Impossible, he stammered. Possible, I countered. Unless concealed. Immediately. I withdrew the packet. My grip firm now. They failed to register. Too fixated on the lifeline presented. Prepared documents. A safeguard tactic. Immediate title shift to a private entity. Nemesis Holdings LLC. Without your names attached when scrutiny begins, they can't lock it. A protective vehicle. Arthur seized the pages. He reviewed frantically, like a drowning man. He halted at the execution section. Hold on, he snarled. This designates you managing member solely. My identity absent from title. Critical juncture. The pivot. Any hesitation meant defeat. Precisely the reason it must be me, I begged. Any trace of your names, the authorities spotted immediately. I'm the placeholder. I safeguard until danger passes. You can compel return any time. I obey always. He saw no menace, only disposable offspring. He chuckled, seized his pen, and executed. I messaged Sarah. She appeared promptly, validated the transfer, stamped, and departed with unmarked currency. As her vehicle vanished, calm settled. Fear turned to smugness. Finally contributed something, father mocked. Mother served drinks as though no crime occurred. Enough tears. Know your role, she stated icily. Beatrice is the blossom. You're the soil. Your duty is self-burial for her flourishing. Report tomorrow. Wedding preparations await. That term, soil, severed the last thread. I ceased weeping. Placed my device on the surface. Revealed the active capture indicator. I won't report, I declared evenly. Either will Beatrice. They gaped as I laid out reality. The residence belonged to Nemesis Holdings. And Nemesis Holdings belonged to me. Father surged forward, halted at mention of tainted motives. The audio held their confessions. Litigation against me required admitting crimes. He crumpled. 7 days to leave my premises, I informed. Fail, and this audio reaches federal agents and the Sterlings. 3 months on, I occupied the study now mine. My parents penniless, sister's marriage dissolved, their standing ruined. They'd been correct on one point. Blossoms require soil. They simply overlooked that soil claims the earth. And now? So did I.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss a twist. Stay tuned to Reddit Tales Times for your daily dose of drama, laughs, and unbelievable stories.